what I'm doing is I'm taking eye movements and we're getting into the subconscious. So it's really kind of like hypnosis, but there's no trance or anything like that.
I've had multiple green days in a row since I started coaching with Dr. Dave about 2 months ago. I've taken about $10,000 in payouts.
Because before I asked Tanner those questions, you were saying it works super well because you're coupling it with the eye movement. What is the science behind this rapid eye movement?
So, I mean, I think that adrenaline is the enemy of any trader because it like with PTSD, it takes your logical brain offline.
This is every trader's problem, especially in the prop space, is they all want to make money today. They want the payout today. I would say mentorship is the greatest thing you can invest in, and real traders understand that.
Everybody knows you, Tanner, from the podcast. What, we've done 2 or 3 now. So
yeah, we've done 2.
You've connected me now with David, and we're talking about trading psychology today. So let's jump in. First, Tanner, tell us how you and Dr. David got connected. Do you go by Dr. David or Dr. Is it Bonanno, David?
Yeah, Bonanno, but you can just call me Dave.
Cool. All right. So Tanner, tell me how you and Dave first got connected. Let's start there.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, you know, as I grow in the trading influencer space, I guess you could say, I get a billion emails and messages all the time from people trying to sell me things.
Right.
And I normally just skip over all of them. I don't even look or whatever. But this email came through from Dave, and he wasn't actually trying to sell me anything. He just wanted to connect, and he was like, hey, I see what you're doing. I see what's going on. I love that you're a coach and whatnot. He's like, I actually am a trading psychologist, and I have a unique way to deal with traders who struggle with specifically like taking bad losses or going through bad habits. And he has like a background in psychology where he has a unique way of actually dealing with traders who struggle with tilt specifically and whatnot. Okay. And at the time he sent this, number one, I'm always like looking to kind of expand my coaching program and stuff like that and just learn more. So it's like, you know, I'm always open to like anything that can make me a better trader, potentially make my clients a better trader. And ironically, when he sent this email was like right when the market had just started to turn, and I went from permabull to getting my ass kind of beaten by the bears. So I found myself in drawdown. I felt myself going on tilt. I found myself just like not performing how I normally perform. And I think part of it as well is like I had a really killer December. I had an awesome January. And then kind of like, you know, that cockiness led into February. And then as it kind of happens, you know, once you fall off the ladder a little bit, you really fall down like the whole rabbit hole. So kind of came across him like that, where I was like, you know what, let's connect. He was like, hey, I want to just chat with you, see like how this coaching program could potentially help you. And I was like, you know what, I'm open to it. Let's do it. Let's kind of see what you're all about. And that's kind of how it happened.
Okay. And then Dave, how did you find Tanner? Like, why did you reach out to him? What stood out about him?
He's got a bunch of followers.
I love it. I love it.
My assistant Melissa, we had the idea of like, let's reach out to influencers and people who have an audience. And when I checked him out, he did seem like a really good guy and super smart and like authentic too. You know, like some people like, you know, they'll be like making videos from their yacht or whatever, but like he was talking about how he was struggling, and so yeah, it worked out great.
Love that. What an interesting timing how that all comes together. So then Tanner, if you now look at it from where we are today, a couple of months into this, what would you say the biggest areas of improvement that David's helped you with? Because I'm sure the listeners are thinking, yeah, I understand maybe a coach can help enhance my performance, but in what areas specifically do you feel like you turned and that's what helped the P&L kind of turn?
For sure. So, I mean, Dave can speak on this obviously more in a little bit, but he has like a really unique system of like how he implements what he does. Okay. Through forms of, it's through a form of therapy. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's EMDR therapy, right, Dave?
Hey traders, a quick pause from today's podcast to tell you about our sponsors. First, Top One Futures is still running a 50% off sale. Use the code ASFX on your next instant funded challenge from Top One Futures. There's a link in the description, or just go to toponefutures.com, but make sure you use the code ASFX, those 4 letters. That'll make sure you get the best discount possible. If you don't want to take any more challenges and jump through any more BS hoops, instant funded is the way you need to go, and Top One Futures has your back. The second sponsor of today's podcast is Edgeful. If you're looking for statistical backed edges across multiple markets, not just futures, but for stocks and crypto and Forex as well, use the link in the description when you go sign up for Edgeful, and that link will give you a 7-day free trial. Go try it out for free. Play with the opening range breakout stats, play with the gap fill stats, and see how much of an impact it can make for you. Whether you're a day trader or a swing trader, you're going to love Edgeful.
It's my version of it. So it's much better than EMDR. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no idea what it was really about, but kind of at the same time, actually, my girlfriend had talked about how she had done some of this type of therapy before and how it's really interesting. And like, I'm just a very open-minded person. So I was like, you know what, like, let's try it. Let's kind of see what it does. And that's when, you know, we started kind of going through it. At first, I was like, okay, like, I don't know, because a lot of what he does is like on a subconscious level. And so, you know, we're starting to walk through things and whatnot. And he's asking like really good detailed questions just about, you know, not just, I think the biggest like turning point for me with it was he's asking questions, not just about like execution necessarily, but it's like, okay, how do we change the rest of your day, even if you do happen to have like a bad morning? Right. And I think this is a big thing that a lot of traders struggle with is they'll have a red day and then they'll screw up the rest of their entire day. And they let it bleed over. They feel awful about it. They're like, oh, my losses, you know, like bring you down the rabbit hole type deal. And that was something for me where I was like, I know I'm just going through a drawdown right now and struggling, but it's easy to let those bad thoughts like slip in of like, oh, I'm a terrible trader. I suck. What's going on, you know, and then ruin the rest of my day. And so a lot of stuff we started working on was like, okay, even if you do happen to have a red day or screw up or whatever, like how do we still have a good day after that and kind of rewire your brain in that sense? And that when I started kind of doing that, I noticed like, first of all, I would go on tilt much less. And then like number 2, I would just be like, okay with it. And like tomorrow would be a fresh slate and I wouldn't have as much carryover.
Interesting. So David, do you want to elaborate on that at all? Just about the rewiring?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so there's so many coaches out there who could try to give you tips and tricks and like how to change your thoughts. That's like cognitive behavioral therapy, like right there. But even this one video that actually Tanner sent me, which was a good video, but the guy ended up saying like at a certain point, you got to just tell your clients like stop doing stupid shit, you know, like because it's easy to tell somebody what to do. Like, you know, like I had a therapist one time tell me, well, you know, why are you still stuck on the past? It's like, doesn't make sense. It's in the past. I'm like, well, no shit. What am I doing here on your couch? You know? So like what I'm doing is I'm taking eye movements and we're getting into the subconscious. So it's really kind of like hypnosis, but there's no trance or anything like that. It's not like weird. And you're actuating these changes on a deep level so that you know, for example, like somebody feels like, oh, I can't be letting my past trades affect me, or I can't be too adrenalized because that's just going to take my logical brain offline. But if you use the eye movements, that actually kind of takes care of the whole thing. So, I mean, I think that adrenaline is the enemy of any trader because it like with PTSD, it takes your logical brain offline. And of course, like with Tanner's situation, once you start to go bad, then you want to like be active instead of passive. You want to make the situation better. You're putting more pressure on yourself, and the fear is going up, the adrenaline's going up, and then it's just so easy to go off track, isn't it?
Interesting. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Let's go to the rapid eye movement. So it's not hypnosis. Tanner, you first. What did it feel like the first time you did a session with the rapid eye movement stuff? Because I assume you're sitting there with your eyes closed, right? And you're doing stuff with your eyes behind your eylids.
No, so actually you're kind of just like you're basically like following this like this ball back and forth, and he's like asking you questions, but then while you're following it with your eyes open, you're like going through visualization scenarios. So that is where kind of like the subconscious stuff like stems in, and doing that initially, like, you know, I'm very open-minded as well. So I'm like, okay, like let's really try to like dive into some of these, these things that are happening. And for me, a lot of it just stemmed from like, we bring up scenarios. He's like, okay, like what is, when you do take like your first initial trade on the day and it's red, like I want you to imagine yourself like, fully like taking a step back, like resetting, and then maybe even taking another trade, and how that happens to be red, and then like you hit your max loss on the day or whatever it is, and you're just done. And I want you to imagine like just being okay with that and like walking away and like still having a good day. And doing stuff like that is where, because that situation happened multiple times, like especially during, this crazy volatility period, and just really leaning into trusting like, well, overall, like statistically speaking, I can hit my max loss multiple days in a row if I have to, but like my winning days is usually double the amount of my max loss days. So from a bigger picture point of view, I will be okay. But obviously this is every trader's problem, especially in the prop space, is they all want to make money today. They want the payout today. And so you have one day where you screw up. Like it's going to happen. You're going to have a bad read. The market's going to be erratic. Today's a great example. Like, the market was pretty erratic this morning. And like today's actually a really good example. I hit my max loss today that I have set on my personal accounts. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. Like I've had multiple green days in a row since I started coaching with Dr. Dave about 2 months ago. I've taken about $10,000 in payouts. So I'm like, okay, I'm back to taking money out and like doing what I'm supposed to do. So like I'm on the right path and trajectory. And the max loss days become far and few in between. And just like when they do happen, I kind of just accept it and go back to like what it actually means to be a trader. Like look into your data, look into where you screwed up, because the reason why I was red today is my actions. Like, yeah, the market was tough, but still it's my response to the market. And like, you can actually just take the time to look at your data and be like, okay, where did I screw up here? What went wrong? And then how do we elaborate from there and fix it?
Okay. All good points. Before we get off the eye movement stuff, I want to go to David, but are you doing something now too, Tanner? Like, is there something like that you default back to after the first loss that you've learned through the sessions with David to reset yourself to try to get it back in the second trade? Is there like a tactic out of this?
This is what's like the wild part about it is like, since a lot of it is subconscious, it's just been like naturally I slow myself down and I just take the pressure off. So it's really hard to like fully like explain, be like, yeah,
no, but I think that
like,
makes sense. It really does. David, why do you think that is? Why do you think the stuff you've been working on in the sessions has helped slow him down in general?
Well, we helped him to get grounded, and like how Tanner said, it's subconscious, which is by definition not conscious. So it is kind of hard to track exactly what's happening like within inside you in logical left brain terms. And also, like science can't describe meditation or mindfulness or dreaming, and this is just another natural state that we go into. So like I am trying to get him out of his adrenaline but into his emotional brain in a way that is different than just like, oh, try to think of it this way, try to think of it that way. So like one example with another client that I had was we use metaphors, and when you do that, you're really freeing yourself up for your creativity. So like this guy, he just kept breaking his rules like every time. And so I said, all right, well, let's think of a metaphor that really kind of fits the situation, or like talk to that part of you that just kind of says fuck it, So he's an Irish guy. He came up with this leprechaun character, and he realized like it's not all bad, and it's not like screw you, leprechaun. It was more like, hey man, I got this. Like I don't need you to be messing everything up. I mean, you're there if I need you, but it's like, it is kind of crazy what I'm saying. But then when you bring the metaphor back to real life, because he's used his creativity, it's like this it's like the way I'm doing this therapy is like guaranteed aha moments, if that makes sense. Like, like if somebody says something that logically makes sense, and then once in a while you're like, oh yeah, and then you totally feel it, that's what I'm doing, is I'm going right for that. So yeah, with Tanner, we did some exploration. When you are moving your eyes, you're able to have a better perspective on what's actually happening. Because, you know, like everybody says, like you should journal. And of course, I think that's a good idea. But you're looking back with your logical brain and you're trying to decipher what were you doing subconsciously at that time, and it's difficult to be able to access that. I mean, by subconscious, the definition is like you're not aware of it. So like you're asking yourself to go back and what was I not aware of at the time? You know what I mean? And so when you use the eye movements, it really even kind of corrects for what you were doing as you're looking back at it. And then with Tanner, he was really, you know, authentic and open, and we were able to like even look at some like family stuff, but super quick. It wasn't like, you know, psychoanalytic or anything, and then just kind of clear stuff up and help him to take a lot of pressure off of himself. He put so much pressure on himself, just like so many other traders. And then, you know, you get locked into thinking like, well, what about my goals for my life? Like, how does this one trade affect my entire life, you know? And if we can get some of the pressure off, which by in turn takes off some of the adrenaline, then you're free to just be yourself and get back to what you do best.
The word adrenaline keeps coming up because you're saying we want to remove it. But a lot of people get into trading because they like the adrenaline, similar to gambling. You know what I mean? So maybe dive a little bit deeper there for us, Dave, on why adrenaline is bad for traders.
Yeah, great question. Well, you know, if you look at a graph of performance anxiety, like the more you have to have some anxiety, you have to have some adrenaline, it's so that you care and that you're focused. But then the more you have, your performance goes down. So yeah, those people who are getting into it for the dopamine hit, I don't think that's really the way to go. And that's when I start to talk about like happiness versus contentment in life. And, you know, with people, a lot of people are looking for happiness. And then when they're making their vision board and they have a Lamborghini on there and an awesome house, like those stuff will make you happy. Like if you have a great day, that makes you happy. But of course, that's very short lived. And what you want is overall performance, overall feeling of well-being. It should feel safe. So like the gambler type of person, I don't really think is the perfect one for trading. I mean, like, you know, those type of people, they want to hit home runs because it feels awesome to hit a home run. And the worst thing that can happen, of course, is if you break your own rules and then you get reinforced for that. And then, you know, like then you want more of it and you're just going to say, screw it when it comes to the rules. If you can have somebody who's happy to hit singles and doubles and they can do it consistently, that's how you win, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's very interesting. The whole thing of how this comes together. Now, David, it sounds like you're not going to be the kind of trading psychologist that'll be like blaming someone's trading problems on some type of childhood trauma. Am I fair to say that?
Oh my God, man. I went to so many years of therapy where we did that. And I even to the point where I'd have to schedule time to go for a long walk after every session because, yeah, we just blamed everything on my parents or everything else. And I think it is really kind of a seductive thing. Like scapegoating is such a powerful force. And if you can take yourself off the hook, I mean, it's almost irresistible sometimes, especially if you have somebody who's in authority that you trust, who's saying, oh, no, it's not your fault. It's because your dad's alcoholic. Well, I mean, we can go there quickly. Like when I'm coaching people, we go there, we diagnose it. And then what we do is we kind of re-script it so that in not only with your emotional brain, but your cognitive brain, you're just kind of pretending you had like a different childhood, or you're really kind of rewriting the script on who you are as a person and what your weaknesses are. You're rewriting your story, and because you're doing it with eye movements, it really hits home on a deep level. So yeah, we might go into that stuff. And as a matter of fact, like most of the traders I've worked with are guys, and most of them do have father issues. They either want to be like their father, but they can't be, or they want to be just the opposite of their dad. And that, of course, adds more pressure. And if we can quickly, efficiently diagnose and treat that, then that's a huge factor to just get out of the equation.
So 2 questions. Tanner, you first, then Dave will go back to you. Tanner, how have you changed your schedule? He said you're more grounded. Okay. So you're doing the eye movement stuff. You're working through these reprogrammings. You're working through like the changing the perspective on certain things in your life of how you were looking at it to maybe try to move you in a more positive direction. Did you take time off the desk? Are you allocating for like, I need to get outside and do stuff? Like, what are you doing differently in your schedule now?
I would say nothing like specifically different. Like, so we wanted to focus on two things. The first thing was like because luckily I have enough data I've collected and I know what to look at. Like I know where my issues stem from. This is like I've talked about this before. It's the concept of the domino effect, right? Once the first domino falls and you're rule breaking, it all goes out the window. Right. And this happens with everyone that trades props a lot of the time. It's like, you know, you take one bad trade or, you know, you oversize by accident, leads to this, leads to that, leads to this. So honestly, one of the biggest things, it was a great timing with it was being able to trade with a broker that has a auto lockout feature if you do hit your max loss and just start to accept those days and feel them a bit more. So trading with Top One on Project X, the lockout feature, like that was something where I can fully control that, and I can, in taking time to do stuff like that and set the risk settings when I'm in my logical state of mind, that is where I started like seeing much more improvement. So a great example is normally most of the time now, either first thing in the morning or even like the day before when futures open, I will lock out my risk settings when I'm in my pure logical state of mind. Like there's no emotion. I'm not taking any trades. Like I'm like, I lock out the risk settings. So because there's been so many times, like I've done this, I've had clients do this, like where all of a sudden you get towards your max loss and you're really close to it and you close it out just before, and then you go, okay, I'm going to adjust it now. Like I'm going to go from, you know, losing 1,000 to 2,000 on the day or 3,000 on the day. And then before you know it, you know, you blow the account because you just keep doing that over and over. So set it like locking out the risk settings first. I was like, if I can do that when I'm in my logical state of mind, number one, I'll trade a little bit safer and not as aggressive. So a subtle style change, but for the better, because I need to, especially in this volatility. And then number two, being able to kind of just like take that step back, like I said, like and be okay. So I didn't take any like full time off necessarily, but I was like, if I can not trade right at the open and set those risk settings, those are two things that will automatically like get me progress and push me forward. And literally those two things alone did push me forward. And like I said, I went from, you know, a super dry, basically February to even into March to like, you know, it's April 23rd right now. And I've taken, you know, over 10K in payouts in probably the past, like, I think 3 to 4 weeks. So,
which is, you know, that's a huge W. But my question specifically, are you getting like, because I noticed on your Instagram story, you don't miss the gym. That's a priority. You've been spending more time like on the weekends, not doing trading stuff. I see you outside more than me. I'm jealous of you. So I just was wondering, like, are you actually intentionally slowing down in other areas of your life at all too through this?
Good question. I'm taking the pressure off of just trading itself. And that is something me and Dr. Dave talked about a lot, is I naturally am a very like ambitious person. I've always known I'm going to be an entrepreneur, like, you know, like want to make something of myself. But I think that's part of the problem is like, I was the first person in my family to graduate college, and I always wanted to be successful. Like that was my goal. I'm like, I want to be the successful one. And, you know, when I have a day in trading where I screw up or something, that makes me feel like I'm not successful. It makes me feel like I'm a failure. And so that was a big thing we talked about. We're like, how do we take the pressure off of this and be like, you know, how do you have a good day? How do you still have a good day if you fuck up? Because like you're going to have days where you just screw up as a trader. So taking the pressure off of it, that's pretty much it. Other than that, routine wise, habit wise, you know me, like that's my whole brand. Like I'm like, yo, get dialed in as much as you can. You know, I'm going to the gym always. I'm always eating good.
The pressure. That's where you found it's like, got it. Okay.
Correct.
So now we're getting, and now let me go back to Dave for a second. Dave, we've talked about the eye movements a little bit. Can you explain the science of it? Because before I asked Tanner those questions, you were saying it works super well because you're coupling it with the eye movement. What is the science behind this rapid eye movement hypnosis stuff, really?
Yeah, right. So it is based on EMDR, which a lot of people may have heard of. I personally don't like that as a therapy because you're just reliving the worst stuff that ever happened to you. You're focused on the problem and then it's sprinkled with eye movements. But there's different theories of how it works. Like it might be that we're replicating rapid eye movements. So like, you know, when you're sleeping and dreaming, that's all the subconscious brain that comes out. And that's why your dreams seem so crazy. It could be that we're sort of like distracting your logical brain so that you're not really paying attention to like the verbal stuff, and you're just kind of like suggestible, like open to whatever. And by the way, like I can't impose anything on somebody. It's really, I can just reinforce intentions that people already have. And so yeah, like you're just kind of opening yourself up. And you know what really does, like Tanner, you had said like it helped you to kind of accept things. Well, I mean, so maybe I'm moving on a little bit. Like I said, like with science, EMDR is the most heavily researched therapy for PTSD in history. It yeah, and the results are like that. It works kind of well. Most of the people that I've talked to with PTSD, and I've talked to 17,000 of them because I'm the first guy in America to start helping people to qualify for medical marijuana programs. So there's very few people who've had the opportunity to talk to 17,000 people. I just never have really had people tell me that therapy works in terms of just kind of wiping the slate clean for your PTSD. And that's what it relates totally to traders, because once again, it's all about adrenaline. And so yeah, we're just dialing down that system. Like people can tell you don't have adrenaline, just calm down, don't be afraid, don't put pressure on yourself, stick to your rules, blah blah blah. If you're telling somebody who's full of adrenaline to calm down, you might as well be telling somebody who's full of alcohol that they should be sober. You know, just think sober thoughts. Think sober thoughts. It doesn't work.
Right.
I've tried it. I've
doesn't
tried
work. Been there, tried it. Doesn't work.
it. But if you don't mind, Tanner mentioned acceptance, and that is so important. Because I don't want to sound like foofy or like anything like that, but like if you're angry or even guilty or anxious, you're back in adrenaline, but you're also not accepting what happened. So like, if you're like, well, I should have done this, or the market should have done this, or it should have been this way, then if you're not actually living in reality when you're doing that. And a lot of people think that they need to just kick themselves in the ass harder, but you're taking yourself out of where you're focused. You're expending a lot of energy doing that. And if you can actually be sad instead of mad, then people don't want to feel that way, because you have to admit that you're powerless. But if you can be sad, kind of like even grieve what happened, you can let it go. And then you can start with a fresh, you're not like coming into it like, okay, don't fuck it up this time. Like it's just that way is not going to help. And if you could just be like, start with a clean slate and have as little adrenaline as possible, be in the moment, that's where you got to be.
I want to chime in on this real quick, because it just came into my head. Like one of the biggest things that I've noticed for sure is I was never like, I guess, a huge revenge trader in the past as much, but like my day-to-day fresh slate has never been cleaner. Meaning like whatever happened yesterday, fuck it. Like today is a brand new day. And that's the goal for all of us as traders, right? It's like every day is a fresh opportunity, versus in the past, so many times, okay, I'm down this much today. Like, especially when I would like blow some accounts or something, like trading props. Okay, well, I broke my max loss today and I'm down, 3,700 on this account. My consistency rule is 20%. I only can make 2K. Okay, so it's going to take me 2 days to bring that back. I need to make 2K today. Like, and I would go through those scenarios so often. And then now, like, again, having that safeguard where I know, like, my max loss is going to protect me because I only have it set at like $1,000, and like an average day is like 1,500 or 2K for me, whatever it is. That right now, having that be set, every day is just a fresh slate. And it goes into this concept as well. I think you've talked about this before on your pod, Austin. I love this term in the trading space, is the concept of self-regulation. Meaning like, you are going to you're always going to deal with it. You're never going to be perfect. I've talked to so many traders on this. One of my favorite stories always, at Traders for a Cause last year, a great trader named Brian Lee went into this whole presentation about how he went into a $3 million drawdown. And this was a trader who had been trading for 10 years, put up multiple millions, awesome trader. And he goes into how it happened. And basically, long story short, he went from treating trading like a business, very structured, very like, disciplined with how he was doing it, to all of a sudden people were like, you should size up. you should go bigger. You should go for it. So then he kind of tried to size up, and then he showed his P&L calendar, and it was like nightmare fuel, bro. It was plus 300K, minus 250K, plus 400K, minus 300K, like the amount of fluctuations. And he talked about how he went into this 8-month drawdown and lost $3 million. And he's like, I had to fully reset. And he's like, the whole concept of all of that was like, he's 10 years into this. He is still prone to going through drawdown, going through these periods. And the greatest traders I know and I've met and like been lucky enough to like make friends with as well, been trading much longer than me, or super experienced 10, 15 years. They all have experienced drawdowns, like gnarly, to the point where they're like, they question themselves. They go, I don't know if I can do it. But they learn, again, that concept of self-regulation, how to reset, how to like start over in the sense of like, okay, where do I need to go like to get back to my base hits, right? Back to baseline. And so Brian was a great example. And he talked about how he went from, you know, like I just told you, $300,000 days, $200,000 days, insane, to he reached back out to his mentor, restructured, and he was literally going for like $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day. It's like, and most traders don't want to do that as well, is like kind of like go backwards like that, but it's the necessary steps it takes in order to self-regulate.
Do you think that it's easier to self-regulate as you get older? Because I feel like it's almost like when you're 17, 18, 19, you see some of these kids trading that young. It's like, how could someone that young have self-regulation as a skill? They don't yet. You know what I mean? It takes a little bit of life experience you got to get closer to that 30 number, I think, to start really having the
I think it takes experience in the markets overall. Like sure. I'm technically in my 6th year now. And just like being able to obviously read price and charts, you know, if you actually, a lot of people don't like think about it, but if you take time to think about, or even look at like your journal or anything from like your 2nd year to where you are now, you have learned so much, assuming you've been doing the work and actually trading and not just fucking YOLOing all the time. But like, you know, you have learned so much and understand that, like, you know, you've proven it either to yourself at one point, you know, you can get through it. And yeah, like that wisdom kind of comes. And like, I think why I love trading in general is because if you treat it correctly, it's just another avenue of personal development, because it brings out everything in you that you're bad at or you struggle with. Like I said, you know, one of the biggest things that me and Dave did, like my pressure to want to be successful, to want to succeed, like putting all the pressure into being this great, awesome trader. And like, finally, you know, just over time, like it gets a little bit easier to be like, okay, let's detach a little bit. And then of course, as a byproduct, you end up trading better, you make more money, and you're like, oh, that's okay. That's how it works.
Dave, do you have any advice for the traders who are like, oh my God, this is me. I put too much pressure on myself. I'm working my job. I'm trying to make money trading. I bought a couple prop accounts. I keep blowing them. Is there any like tactical advice you could give to the listeners of like, hey, just do more of this and you might be able to dial that back, lower the expectations maybe? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of people are setting goals for themselves. And of course, like there's a lot of science that says that you should do it, that you should have specific measurable goals. But I kind of disagree with that, because if you are not meeting those goals, if you feel like, like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there, then it's like, well, screw this, you know, and then you're into fuck it mode. And that's really tough. I think that if people can set intentions and really just focus on what they're doing, I think a lot of people have intention deficit disorder. And so like one of the examples I talk about is like, I'm a Celtics fan, and when the Celtics lost to the Lakers, like Ray Allen, you know, the best all-time three-point shooter until Steph Curry came along, he missed the game-winning shot. So the reporter was like, oh, Ray, that's really tough, isn't it? You guys could have won. And then she kept it up, and he got really mad at her because he was saying, like, look, I take 300 shots every day of the year, even on Christmas. My feet were set, my shoulders were square, and the ball didn't go in. So if you can narrow down your thinking from global, as to like, global thinking is where you're drawing themes between things and like, oh shit, I just had 3 bad days in a row, I'm never going to be able to retire. I mean, that's global thinking. If you could just focus on taking 300 shots a day, if you could just focus on, did I make good decisions today, even to the point where you're divorcing yourself from the outcome, you know, like, what did I do as opposed to how did the market go? That I think is super important. If you can just narrow your focus like that. And then I like that question of like, does experience or does age help you to regulate yourself better? Well, one thing is that science has proven that your brain isn't really fully formed until you're 21 or 22. And the way that it hasn't formed yet is because you're not able to see consequences. And my theory about that is because that's how you get people to go to war.
You're right. You're probably right, dude. 100%.
So yeah, when you're a little older, you know that shit can happen. And if you see it, like not just in the market, but with life, like you see that this is real. And then of course, older people might have more responsibilities too. So yeah, I mean, I think it can help. Young people can certainly be successful for sure. But every time, like when people say it comes back to psychology, and you have to get that right. So if you have like a really healthy young person, then go for it. And if you got some shit to work out, then you got to do what you got to do.
Fucking facts, bro. You know, Tanner's a very disciplined person. He stays on his routine. People struggle with that. People struggle with consistency in a lot of areas of life. So do you have any advice for trying to be more consistent with your trading and sticking to your word and sticking to your rules, Dave?
Oh, right. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is important. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
And then, you know, there's some people like out there who, for example, have ADD or, and then it's really hard for them to just be consistent. So what I actually have to offer is, you know, my personal coaching, but I've created a whole bunch of online video sessions. So that's what I'm really kind of trying to sell. If you go to my website, you can see all this, but like, there's one where it really helps you to get in the zone, like to pre-market, like it just helps you to focus on what you need to focus. And by the way, like when I was working with Tanner, you're not trying to focus on what you shouldn't do, because whatever you put in your brain, you're going to magnify. If I say like, do not think about a zebra with red stripes right now, every single person who heard that just thought of that right now. So if you're telling yourself, okay, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up, your brain is really hearing, you know, don't, but then it's hearing screw up. So if you can just like replace that in positive terms with like stay calm, like go with my gut, but like, you know, just focus on the shots, or just, you know, focus on my performance. That's how you can get into it. And then of course, like afterwards, you have the post-market video session that helps you to really see what was happening subconsciously. So
I would love to see that. Dude, we definitely need to put that below. Have you seen the video, Tanner?
Yeah, I've gone through some of his videos and the modules, and like it's definitely something where when you actually, you know, like it's like being really focused with your thinking and like your intentions, right?
Sure.
Because like a great example is I had a client a few days ago be like, oh yeah, I had a really stressful week at work, and like, you know, I was up super late, and then I woke up like, you know, kind of missed my alarm and stuff like that. It's like, oh, no wonder why you performed bad, right? Like you got to the market 10 minutes before it opened. You didn't have a game plan. You didn't go through your routine. Like, so yeah, those days are definitely going to add up and hurt you. But like, if you can get yourself in the zone, like, you know, some of the videos he does have, like, yeah, they actually, you're like, okay, like this is my objective. This is what I'm here to do. Here's my read on the market. Execute. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Like,
it's very detached. It sounds very detached. Like I think the listeners will hear that. Like there's a process you want to follow, but you're not married to the result of the process day to day. You're committing to seeing, like, let me see this play out over a longer period of time. So you said,
it's like dating. It's like, you know, you go on a first date, you have to care, because otherwise you wouldn't be putting your best self forward. But you can't care too much. You're going to come on too strong, man. She's not going to like it.
You're right, Dave. We're changing the name of the podcast. It's not the Day Trading Show. This is the dating show now. Everybody.
dating show.
Dating show with Dave. No, but you're right. You're absolutely right. So now, Tanner, you said you took 10K in payouts since working with Dr. Dave. Why? What has changed for you from drawdown to 10K in payouts in less than 4 weeks?
Trusting the bigger picture process, dude. Like, honestly, that's it. Because when I love the whole adrenaline thing, like touching on that, because I naturally am just stuck in fight or flight. You know, I'm a trader, I'm an entrepreneur, I lift heavy ass weights all the time. Like, literally, like, my girlfriend's always like, you're just always like on. And I'm like, I know. Like, I find I'm a person, and I think a lot of traders are kind of like this, because I personally believe most traders, especially if they're like fairly serious about it, have a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies, meaning like they are high functioning, they want to make things work, they want to be successful. And like for me, being able to just, again, detach as much as I can and slow myself down has allowed me to actually not care, like if I have a red day or I hit my max loss or whatever, like it is. And again, like go back to the actual work that I know what to do. Like today, really choppy day. I know where I went wrong. I had one specific trade. It was right before news and data came out. I sized a little bit too much on it and I got walloped on it. And I was like, ah, shit. And then I was like, okay, like this is pretty much it. I had like a little bit of drawdown left before I had my max loss. I tried one more time. Boom. No, didn't work. And it was like when I go back and review today, I know it was that one trade. It was that specific moment which screwed me up, but at least I can dissect it from my performance of like why that happened versus like most people that go on tilt and go through blowing accounts. If you look at all your data and your trades, you would look at probably like a day where you took, I don't know, 15, 20 trades, because that's what happens to a lot of people that do that. And you'd be like, oh, 17 of these were garbage. They didn't even like, what is this? I don't even know. It doesn't make sense because that's 100%. Operating from fight or flight. That's operating from adrenaline. And so again, that ability to slow yourself down as much as you can and be like, okay, what was actually good? Where did I go wrong? And go from there. Like that for me has allowed me to take more payouts and just be more calm. Like I said, especially in the past, month or so.
Compare it to the trader that is taking his first challenge. He's a spaz, right? More or less out of control, chasing the P&L, not just trading well to let the payouts come. So how important do you think detachment is for traders, Dave? Because I'm trying to get this point home to people more. Like kind of the entire theme of this podcast is the detachment to the short-term results. So how can people maybe internalize that more? Like what can we say to them is like the thought process of learning how to detach from your trading results better? That's the right way to word it.
Yeah. Well, so I wish there was a way that people didn't have to be so hyper focused on the actual dollar amounts that they're working with. I mean, like, would it be cool if there could just be like you score some points or something? Like, it would be like a game, like it. So, I mean, that would be great. But it really is a question not of what you're not focusing on. It's what you are focusing on. And like, if you can have maybe a checklist for yourself of like, am I caring enough? So when you're saying detached, like part of me is like, well, no, you don't want to be too detached, right? Like you do have to be focused. You gotta have a certain amount of alertness and adrenaline, but yeah, but I mean, like, can you like one thing that Tanner and I were working on is like, if you have a bad day, but you did the right things to really kind of celebrate that. I mean, it's even hard for people because like if you're so used to thinking that I got to kick myself in the ass in order to perform, then that could be a good thing in the rest of life, like in your career, or what makes people successful. Definitely not for trading. Like it's trading is so different. It's so in opposite of so many other things that yeah, if you can really kind of try to celebrate it, like even for me, like with therapy. Like when I first started doing it, I was kind of spazzy and I was really wanting my people to get better because it would be validating me. It wasn't even for them. So I would look in the mirror after every session and I would say like, hey, you did a good job. That was a good effort. Even if the people just got even crazier, at least if I if I did my job. But what I'm trying to say is like that's not easy because I would even like be backing out of them and then I'm like, no, listen, asshole, that was a good job. Like it's really hard to give yourself permission to be easy on yourself. But if you can do that, then you are going to be able to accept reality and you are going to be able to take the pressure off and you can focus on what you need to be focused on and be okay to let everything else just take care of itself.
I love that. Tanner, what do you think, like, because from a trader's perspective, there's always pushback when it comes to coaching, trading psychology, mentorship in general. There's always pushback to this idea of getting a coach. What would you say to the people that have listened to the whole podcast so far and are like, I'm kind of interested, but I don't know if I need this right now?
I would say mentorship is the greatest thing you can invest in. And real traders understand that. I've had coaches in everything in life, dude. Like I've had a powerlifting coach since I started competing 9 years ago. I've never not had a coach. It's not even crossed my mind. I'm like, this is a skill I want to get better at and something that like, I love doing. but I want guidance on it always, even like as good as I get or whatever. It's like, I think everyone should have a coach, especially for all these different stages, right? Real prop firms, not the prop, funding space as we know it, but like I'm talking about S&B Capital type stuff, Trillium, Land, all the Lance Brightstein type stuff. They have people actually coaching and mentoring you and guiding you through it the entire time. And so, yes, mentorship is like the greatest thing you can do. If you're on the fence about it, or, I always hear the classic, well, let me get a payout and then I'll do it. And it's like, but then you're not like, and then you don't get the payout and it pushes you further back. It's an investment, right? It's an investment. And like, whenever I talk to people, it's either right away, you're committed and you're in, because a real coach is going to provide you value. I know there's like, in this space, especially, there's some people that are questionable, but like, that's why you vet out, coaches and vet out people, and like you get on calls with them and see like, how can they help you, right? Like, yeah, exactly. Be objective about it. And like making progress in anything, like I said, it comes down to, yes, guidance is always going to be the answer, because it's literally an investment in yourself. Yeah. So I'm a huge believer in it. And I think anyone that's like, no, I don't need coaching, I'm better than that. Okay. Enjoy being enjoy being adequate.
Average at best, mediocre.
In the lifting world, we say you're a lifetime intermediate.
There you go. There you go. Don't be a lifetime intermediate, everybody. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So let's do this.
Actually, if you wouldn't mind. So like what I do is I help coaching stick. So like when I do approach other coaches, I'm like, I'm not even like competing with you. I'm like, I'm wanting for what you teach to actually land with people. So like I'm trying to fulfill a need that people aren't even aware of. So like, if like what you do is you learn about trading, you have a system, you follow the system, and then you reap the rewards. But there's a step in there that we didn't even include. You have to install the system into yourself. And that's why my program's called Discipline Downloads. It would be like if you researched the best car stereo equipment, and then you worked and you bought it, and then you put it in your car and you're driving around and you're like, why can't I hear anything? Well, because all the stuff's just sitting there in the back seat. You didn't install it.
100%. Yeah. So I think, Dave, what I was going to say is I would love to do another one. I think we should put a pin in it here, because Tanner being a case study is a great like intro to get people to understand how your work can help them. And then hopefully we'll have some of our listeners actually hit the website, book some sessions with you, and then we can continue to bring them on. Because I think this area, it's like very fluffy, but when you can actually get down into it and like you said, make it stick, that's where we can really make an impact. So I really appreciate you. Dave, thank you. Tanner, thank you. Listeners, I'm going to have links, of course, for Tanner and Dave in the description to this video. But do me a favor, hit YouTube. If there are specific comments, questions, concerns, stuff you want to hear from Dr. Dave or from Tanner in a future episode, those go in YouTube. That's where we pull from for the next episode. So for now, boys, I appreciate you both. Tanner, again, thanks, buddy. Dave, you're the man. Good to have you. You did great, Dave. Don't need to be nervous.
Thanks.
You crushed it, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, we'll see you guys
thanks,
next
Tanner.
episode. Thank you very much, everyone.